Hi everyone, this is Miss S from Excelsior Charter School, and today we're going to be covering Geometry, Quarter 3, Quiz 2. And like all of our quizzes, we've changed the values so it's not exactly the same as in your quiz. So let's get started. Our first question says, are the triangles similar? And if so, what's a similarity statement and what theorem or postulate proves that? So to begin with, let's look at the information they gave us. For our first triangle, they gave us two sides. For our second triangle, they also gave us two sides. For our first triangle, they gave us one angle, and our second triangle, one angle as well. Remember, in order for triangles to have similarity, they have to have proportional sides and congruent angles. So here we see that our angles are definitely congruent. So that part is a check. And when we look at our sides, 22 and 11 have a proportion of 2 over 1. 68 and 34 have a proportion of 2 over 1. So the sides are proportional and the angle is congruent, so far we are all go. So based on the information they've given us, we can say that the triangles are similar by side angle side. And to set up our similarity statement, let's start with the angles that we know are the same. C and D are going to have to be in the same position. A, B, and F, G are also going to have to be in the same position, here like this. So it looks like triangle ABC will be similar to triangle FGD by side angle side. Our second question wants us to explain why the triangles are similar and solve for x. Notice that we have these two parallel lines here and here, and we can set up a proportion with the large triangle and the small triangle. We can also say that this angle here is in both the small green triangle and the large black triangle. In addition, because we have parallel lines, this angle and this angle are the same, and this angle and this angle are the same. So we can definitely say that they're similar by angle. And remember, when you set up your proportion, you just have to be consistent. So if I start with the green small triangle and I want to do the top over the side, 8 over 10, when I go to the large triangle, I have to do the same thing. But in this case, the top is 5 plus 8. So we'd have 13 over the side of x. And then we use our cross product property and solve for x. And what we get is that x equals 16 and 1/4. Our next problem wants to know if the triangles are similar and why. So remember again, they've given us all three sides here. So we're looking at probably side similarity. We just have to make sure that the sides are proportional. So we can take the longest side of the yellow triangle and the longest side of the green triangle and form a proportion there, 8 out of 10, which reduces to 4 over 5. And then we do the same thing. These are equilateral triangles, so these are isosceles triangles, so it doesn't matter which side you choose. And then you'll form a proportion here, 6 over 7.5, which when you do the division is 0.8. And if you do the division on here as well, it's also 0.8. So these triangles are similar by side. Our next question wants us to find the geometric mean between 6 and 7. So remember that to find the geometric mean, you times the two numbers together and take the square root. So 6 times 7 is 42. And since there are no perfect square factors of 42, the answer is the square root of 42. All right, our next question here wants to know the values of a and b, but in order to solve this question, it's actually easier to go to the next couple because we're going to use corollary 1 here to solve this question because we have an altitude, a, and corollary 1 says that the altitude squared equals each piece of the hypotenuse multiplied by each other. So a squared is going to equal 29 times 9, and we'll solve for a. And when we do, what we get is that a equals 3 radical 29. This one here, we're actually looking for a leg of the Papa triangle here, so we'll use corollary 2, where we have the leg squared equals the adjacent part of the hypotenuse times the whole hypotenuse. And then we'll solve this for x. And what we get is that x equals 8. So when we go back to this question, we're going to use both of those corollaries in order to solve. So we can begin with the altitude, 8 squared, equals each piece of the hypotenuse times themselves. When we solve for a, what we get is that a equals 6.4, but your answer needs to be as a fraction. So 6.4 turns into 6 4/10, which can be reduced to 6 2/5, which as an improper fraction is 32/5. And that's the answer you would plug into the answer for A. Now for B, we're going to use the leg of the Papa triangle. So for part B here, we're going to use the leg, and it's always the leg squared, this is corollary 2, times the adjacent part of the hypotenuse, which we know is A, is 6.4, times the whole hypotenuse, 10 plus 6.4, which is 16.4, and then we'll solve this for B. And when you solve for B, what you get is that's approximately 10.25, which we then turn into a fraction of 10 1/4, which we turn into an improper fraction of 41/4. And now we move on to this question, which wants to know the value of x. And what we learn is that the parallel lines here actually break these into proportions, just like this. So you can set this up as x minus 3 over x plus 2 equals x over x plus 4. And then you cross product property and solve for x. And what you get is that x equals negative 12. And you do the same thing here, but this time we're working with 3 parallel lines. But you can still set these up just like this as a proportion and solve for x. And when you solve for it, what you find out over here is that the x squared doesn't cancel out this time. So you actually have to factor this over here and figure out what x equals. So x could either equal 0, which obviously that can't happen because then this space from here to here would be 0, or 9x minus 37 could equal 0, which will then give us an answer of 37/9, which when you do the division is 4.1. So our last one here today says that ray BD bisects angle ABC. If AB is 10 and AD is 2, BC is 14, what is DC? And you can set this up as a proportion as well. So we started with the 10 and the 2 here, starting with the 10, and then we went to the 14 and the x, and we started with the 14. And then we solved this for x, and we get 2.8. Good luck, everybody. I hope you guys all do great.